Hello everybody, my name is Nalo, and welcome back to a brand new video. This one's going to be a little bit more on the doomer side of things, so just giving you a fair warning on that. If you're anything like me, you may have noticed that CS2 is just kind of feeling a little dry lately, and I think there's some factors that are contributing to that, and some very worrying factors that could spell the eventual demise of the entire game. So we'll go ahead and talk about that after a word from our sponsor, Skin Search. Today I'm proud to announce the sponsor of this video, Skin Search, which is actually one of the best tools you can possibly use as a CS2 trader or investor. Skin Search was created by everybody's favorite editor, Sparkles, and they've got plenty of features. So obviously one of the main ones is their search engine, which allows you to search for any skin in the entire game, and it'll pull up a really user-friendly view of all of the items and all of the different wares, or if you can get it in StatTrack, for example. It also gives you a really quick and easy breakdown of all of the prices from all of the major marketplaces, so you can really easily compare and contrast which prices you actually are going to want to pay. By clicking on the item, you can get a cool overview that shows you what the lowest prices for the item are and which marketplace has them. But that's not the only thing that Skin Search offers. You can also use it as a trade-up calculator. They have a very easy to use trade-up calculator on the website. It was very fast and responsive when I used it. And of course it gives you the entire breakdown of everything you need to know, like the float value of the outcomes and things like that. And finally, the other really nice feature about Skin Search is the inventory tab, which gives you a breakdown of your inventory and what everything in it is worth. This is a nice feature because it gives you that realistic estimate of how much your inventory is actually worth in cash. And although none of my items have any of them, the inventory checker on Skin Search also tells you some unique qualities about your item that other inventory checkers don't actually show you, such as float and fade percentage. So that is Skin Search. If you want to check them out, be sure to use the link in the description below or in the pinned comment. Thanks. Okay, so to just kind of get it out of the way, yes, the player count is pretty solid, but this video is not exactly really focused on the present player count in the present community, but rather how the community can evolve over time. So yes, I'm completely aware of the player count. You don't have to bring that up as a counter argument. But why am I starting to hold the opinion that CS2 may eventually meet its demise? Well, for that, we'll have to look back into Valve's development history at one of the most popular Valve games of all time, Team Fortress 2. So I actually got my start really trading and selling in-game items, mostly with TF2 and also Roblox, but I was big on TF2, and the fact that the market was a lot more advanced is what really drew me into the Steam community market and skins in general. If you were around during the TF2 golden era, then you definitely remember just how amazing the game was to play. There were really cool frequent updates and events. That Spoiled Bread event was super cool. It had a really cool ARG kind of built into it. The game was absolutely in its prime, and Valve was making a ridiculous amount of money off of it. And the state TF2 is currently in, and was in about a year ago, was pretty dismal. So what factors led to the decline? Well, if you ask an average TF2 player, they will likely give you the answer that there was an overrunning amount of bots, and also a huge lack of any oversight from Valve whatsoever. The game was getting almost no updates. The development cycle had just pretty much completely stopped for it, and it even got so bad that there was a hashtag started for Save TF2. Needless to say, the game was not in a great place, and the objectively poor work done by Valve was what led to TF2 becoming a fraction of its former size. Now, a very important note here for my overall point, TF2 didn't actually really get worse over time, it just didn't actually get any better. I mean, technically the bots kind of made the whole thing worse, but it's not like the core gameplay was actually kind of getting degraded. The game just kind of ended up getting sort of stale. Now, if you actually played TF2, you probably would have noticed that the updates for the game got a lot more infrequent over time, and that is what brings us to CounterStrike. Although it might seem really crazy, we actually had operations almost back to back when operations first became a thing. CSGO actually had pretty frequent major updates up until the end of it, but a lot of the infrequencies that happened near the end can easily be attributed to the development of CS2. But now we actually have CS2, and despite the game actually being out for quite a long time now, the updates, as I kind of went over in my previous video, have been extremely lackluster. So far in terms of new skins, we've gotten one new case. To be fair, it was a pretty good case, but for the amount of time that the game has been out and comparing it to the overall history of case updates with CSGO, it's not great that that's the only introduction of new skins. We've gotten 0 new weapons whatsoever, despite the devs talking about adding some in the future, but I can admit that it's probably a little too early to start complaining about that. More importantly, the only major update we've actually had was technically the Copenhagen 2024 introduction, but beyond that, there's been no new operation, no new events really of any kinds. In fact, it's been about 3 years since the previous operation, which, if we refer back to the image I showed you earlier, is a pretty ridiculous amount of time. Now, unfortunately, there are a lot of parallels to draw here with TF2. A big part of how the game got a lot more dry was the infrequency of the updates, and unfortunately, it kind of looks like CS2 is going down that path as well. We've had our fair share of bug fixes and patches, but definitely not the amount of updates you would expect from a company on the caliber of Valve. They are not a small indie studio, they are one of the most most funded game development studios on the planet, and they've had an incomprehensible amount of success over the years. There's really no excuse for them to abandon one of their most popular titles. Now, a few reasons have been thrown around for why this infrequency of updates is actually occurring. Some people have said that it's because of the structure of Valve as a company, and that they give their employees way too much time and way too much freedom than what is usually pretty expected of other companies. And to be fair, they do have a very strange company structure, so this could hold some weight. Another reason I've heard thrown around is that they're focusing their development on other projects. There were some recent leaks for a new upcoming Valve game, so that one also does potentially hold some weight. But if either of those two reasons are true, it still doesn't really excuse the update schedule. CounterStrike 2 has one of the most amazing communities of any game on the planet, with super incredible talented map designers and artists, and just generally some of the coolest and nicest people you'll ever meet. Of course, the community isn't perfect, but I do believe they deserve more than what Valve is giving us. We as a community have supported this game for 20 years, and to be fair, for a lot of that time, the CS2 devs have also responded in kind. But the recent handling of CS2 and the infrequency of updates is extremely concerning. Personally, I believe one of the reasons it's actually happening is because Valve has sort of noticed a trend that even though they're not releasing any major updates, people are still playing CS2. And that's absolutely true. If you look at the player numbers, people are still very consistently playing the game, and the player numbers are still some of the highest we've ever seen. So despite the apparent dryness and emptiness that we're all kind of feeling, people are still coming out in droves to play CS2. Now, to be fair, we have seen a recent drop in the amount of players, and that could be the beginning of the end. So what do you think about the current state of CS2 and how Valve is actually currently treating the game? Do you think it's understandable, or do you think it's a little ridiculous? At the moment, I would say I probably believe the latter. In all realness, CS2 is definitely not on its deathbed, and even with a lack of updates from Valve, it won't die for a long time. But needless to say, the seeming lack of care for the game is definitely something that is concerning to me, and something I could see being a catalyst down the line for another game to potentially take over completely. We'll have to see how it all pans out, and I'd really appreciate your discussion on this topic. I'd like to get an idea of what other people are thinking about this, even if you disagree with me. Just keep it civil. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like on it. Helps me immensely and costs you absolutely nothing. Be sure to click that subscribe button for the best CS2 videos anywhere else on YouTube. Check out my Discord server and my Twitter with the links below. And of course, don't forget to check out Skin Search. Thanks, guys. Sorry for the downer video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.